maybe that'll speak to it. But what I really wanted, I've got you guys. Have any of you used my book as a textbook for your trainees?
Yes.
And
So
I'm really interested in how that's working because I kind of wrote it in that, for that purpose. I wanted to see if I could uh, do something that would be painless and still impart a lot of information to trainees. So, Nora, you're shaking your head. You're and and eating.
I
Sorry.
I I loved it
Mm,
so much, and
mm.
just exactly what you said. I felt it could be such a fantastic training tool, and also just the way you wrote it. It's a really lovely read as well. With the plot line, and so I bought a copy for each of my six
You know,
fellows, and
you
at
told
the
me that.
beginning
You
of
told
the
me that at our
year.
last meeting. Yeah,
No,
that's
no, but I'd love to give you some follow up. I nudgingly asked if they've even opened it, and no, I just think
oh,
generationally things are. It's hard for me to figure out quite how to reach our fellows sometimes if it's not just through a slide deck. You can't even say PowerPoint anymore. Because uh reading outside of scheduled didactic time just seems like something, at least the community of fellows I work with, like they just don't do. It blows my mind because that was such a huge part of my own education,
mhm.
and passion growing by learning, by reading some of the greats and reading others, and that would direct me to other literature. But I don't know if it's a kind of cultural shift with how people learn these days. But none of them have really opened it, to my dismay.
So that's amazing.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear, or not what I wanted to
I
hear, but
know. I mean, it's
I
kind of
wanted to
feedback I
have
didn't
the.
want to give you, but it has nothing
so
to do with the book because I don't think they've even read 2 pages, so they can't say they're not interested.
Yeah.
Um,
and same here. So we included it in the curriculum, and I think we bought the books for all of our fellows probably in February or so, and I haven't received any feedback yet. So we'll see. I think they will. But I agree with Nora that this is a cultural shift. I think that we read way more books and those kinds of stuff nowadays than now. It's like very precise and focused, and then there's a varied interest as well. So although they get really excited during the course in learning about circular questions and all kinds of stuff, but reading about is a challenge, which is so interesting. So I'll keep on pushing like Nora will most likely, and then we'll see. I'm more hopeful for next year, like the current first year that they are going to finish it before our next course begins. So second years I doubt that they are going to even.
I've had some people say that if it were only an audio book, maybe I would listen to it. I have the same issue with my trainees. I mean, I push it and I push it and usually one or two will read it, but the idea that they would actually have it be an enjoyable educational experience it has somehow eluded them.
Yeah, I do think I'm in the same boat. I'm not, I teach in the fellowship, but I'm not leading the fellowship. So I started by sharing it with a colleague. I think last time we met, I ordered the book and read it. So I may be a little behind the group, but I shared it with a colleague who's involved in residency education and he read it. He's, more of our generation. And I think that and really appreciated it. And he is very open to family systems thinking, but it's not a natural interest or hasn't been trained. So he was like, wow, this is a whole different way of, it was
That's
faculty
what I want.
training. Yeah, faculty training for him. And it was intriguing. So I'm looking for other places to introduce it. I wanted to comment that I think there are at least two things that come to mind. One is the shift in sort of life-work balance in the culture that I think from millennials and Gen Z, there is a sense of like, when I leave work, I leave my work there. And so all of us who might have, had psychiatry textbooks or Freud or Jung or whoever on our night table, I don't think that's the trend anymore. And the other thing is that I think learning has changed the way that people source information. And so textbooks themselves are becoming sort of outdated, and in some ways, in a good way, because they're looking for the most up to date. They're learning how to scan the meta-analytic and research trials and find what is now known rather than what somebody knew 5 years ago, and it took them 2 years to publish, and then another year to get into a textbook, and now it's out of date. So I think that puts this at a disadvantage. However, it's so well written and interesting and relatable to psychiatry trainees that I do think it's possible. And I wonder about making it bite-sized. Like I'm imagining if I were to assign this to the third-year residents that come through our child training clinic, I would give them a chapter every week and take like 5 minutes in our weekly kind of check-ins to say, what did you think of that interaction? What did you think of the supervision? What did you think of that family? Because I think it's more digestible. And the other piece is they want to know what they're going to be held accountable for. So if it doesn't get sort of discussed and brought up, then they're like, oh, this is optional. And that means
It's going to be on the test. It's
Yeah.
going to be on the test. Yeah.
To some degree, and
Well,
how relevant. And this is like so relevant, but it's not on the test. Your book, the content family systems, like it's not going to help them with tests. It's going to help them with clinical care. And so that's what we need to make come alive. And I think your book does a good job, but we've got to like, get them over that activation energy, as you kind of described in one of the metaphors, to like read a chapter or two and have it be expected that they're going to come in and it's going to be talked about.
And I
Okay.
think that another probably point is when I was in training, that again, it's like not like 100 years ago, it's like 18 years ago. The choice was not that much as we have now, even in our program. Like there's so much going on, PCIT is there, and more trauma focus is there, and DBT is there, and family-based intervention for eating disorder is there. So there are so many other things which, although like Andy said that these are like so practical things, but they feel it that they're not going to be tested, and there are other things which probably excite them more. So that is a struggle which I do have in general with the upcoming generation. Every year we have like 3 fellows each class, and probably one, sometimes two get interested. But I like sometimes our residents are like 6 or 7, our third-year residents, and I see that this is the first class in a while that they are so much interested in making even genograms for every patient, So baby steps, we'll see. Yeah.
Mm.
Reading is an issue. And I have a question, Tom. Do you think that, or what's the process for it becoming an like book on Audible or like audiobook?
My publisher said that to make it to hire someone, you can get it now. The Amazon will just you can listen to it.
Yeah.
It'll just be read by an AI reader.
Yeah.
But to hire an actor to do it would cost between $5,000 and $10,000. And my feeling about it is that there are so many voices in this book. There's
Yeah.
so many family members and that it would be. I can't imagine one person. I suppose I could read the book. I mean, now I could just, but I have a hard time, and maybe that's because I don't listen to a lot of audiobooks. I've listened to some, but it's not my usual. I still like to pick up paper But if you just ask Amazon, read this book to me, they will they'll do it.
Would you be open to we've recently in our department really sort of driven through residency education, had a book club once or twice a year outside of work. If we could get your book to be a book club book, would you come
Absolutely.
Online, or what? You could come to Vermont.
Sure.
I don't think we could pay you.
Vermont would be fun.
But
No,
even just join by Zoom.
I've always thought that this would be a great book club book. I'm in a book club, and my book club read the book, and these are people who are not psychiatrists. I mean, there's and it got a really good, there were like 15, 20 people that showed up for the book club. We have we're on an island, and some people are here one weekend, some people are here another weekend. And so, but for my book, I think they somewhere between 15 and 20 people bought
Wow.
it and read it. And they had a great discussion, and these are not professionals. But
What
yes,
did they think
Andy,
of it?
well, I actually, there's one person in our book club who criticizes everything. He is the proverbial Scrooge when it comes to and he loved it. And he said, oh, I mean, because it opened a lot of people's eyes. I mean, that most people have no concept of what supervision is, or what the training process is, or what family systems are. So, and several of those people in that book group are in other book groups, and I'm still waiting for them to. They said, "Oh, we're going to recommend this," but of course, we're 6 months behind in books and da 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 da. So, no, Andy, if you make this a book club book, I will at least come online and be happy to be.
Thank you.
My pleasure. I think, and the way book clubs work is somebody reads a book and then they recommend it to somebody else who has a book club, and so I would love to have that be a multiplier for people getting exposed.
Yeah, it'd be a fun ACAP event too. I don't know if I think you're already tabling there, but to have like an ACAP book forum where people have read or interested in the book can meet and talk. Is that a format they already have?
They do have I had a table during the last meeting, but they do have a feature of book. I am going to get a review in the Orange Journal, probably in June or July.
Awesome.
So the book editor actually wrote the review himself. He was going to get someone else to read it, and I gave him a copy, and he started reading it, and he says, "Well, I'll write this one." And so that was nice. So you look forward to. I don't know whether you have seen that Media Matters segment of the journal. They do,
I like
3-paragraph reviews. So I get a review in that context.
Awesome. Congrats.
So I'm hoping. Here's my come on, my puppy. Hey.
But I just wanted to add, like Andy, other grown-ups, fellows are grown-ups, other not fellows that I've given it to. My uncle, who's a retired psychiatrist, and my colleague, who's a social worker, works with me in family therapy, have both loved it. So, it definitely, I haven't heard any negative feedback. It really is just wonderful. But yeah, I think
you haven't given it to your father?
Oh, my father passed away, Andy.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, he would have liked
when was that? September 03. Yes.
That's a big
not 03. Sorry, September 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah. But since then, I've met weekly with my uncle. 9:30 on Fridays. It's like our time, and I was very much thinking about my dad and how much he would love the book when I shared it with him. And so, yeah, he's been, my dad was a child psychiatrist too, that Andy knew from NYU. Do I have that right? Yeah.
Yes, yeah, he was one of my supervisors and a wonderful guy. So sorry to hear of his passing, but
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
yeah,
thanks so much.
it's hard to
Um,
learned.
yeah. But yes, even though he's no longer teaching trainees, or in his own practice, my uncle found it really incredible as well. So others I've
Well,
shared it with have found it incredibly helpful.
I wonder about, oh, sorry, you go first, Tom.
well, I wonder who would not like it. I mean, that
True.
our I'm totally biased. I put my heart and soul into this for 2 years, but everybody that does read it that I talk to, maybe they just like me, and they think I don't want to offend Tom, so I'll say I like his book, but who would not like it? I mean, of your trainees, is it too? I mean, I purposefully made it as undidactic as I could.
Yeah,
Um,
I haven't delved into in terms of like their personal like that division that Andy was talking about. Like I think that's probably part of it. I don't know if they read for pleasure on their own time either.
mhm.
But if they did, I think they would sort of not put this in that category because they would see it as work, perhaps.
Oh, okay.
Maybe if it's given to them by one of their supervisors. Um, but I don't know. I'm just trying to think creatively here. They still, and even though times have changed a lot, they still love watching video of like Mnuchin, which we'll show from time to time. So if we can make this into a movie, Tom, they'd probably be willing to watch the
Audiobook, a
movie.
movie, a podcast.
Yeah. Yep.
I think this isn't directly who would not like it. I could, but relatedly, I could imagine, you sort of present through the character in the book. Some trainees come to supervision, not looking for family systems, wanting to know manualized treatments or wanting to be medication focused because for whatever reasons, that's what they've come to believe is effective or is the role of a psychiatrist. And I could see trainees or faculty who are focused in that way to say, this is nice, but it doesn't represent psychiatry in a sort of scientific, biological light that I believe in or care about. And I think, that's addressed to some extent in the book, but I could imagine people saying like, this is not what I came to do. And I think there's some pressure. There are varying pressures for people trained as psychiatrists to focus on medications and ECT and TMS, all these sort of interventions that are considered more body focused and biological, even though that's not untrue of therapy and family interventions. But so there's that old divide that still lives on. And then I think also there may be people who are, for want of a better word, I'll say intimidated by it, meaning they didn't get into psychiatry to sit with a family and all those feelings and different perspectives. And they're kind of like, give me one person that I can either do therapy or prescribe and kind of simplify. And I could see them consciously or unconsciously being turned off by the idea of all this family work and uncertainty and ambivalence and ambiguity.
Yeah. Yeah. All of those are perfectly good uh, observations and comments. I certainly took that into account as I was writing the book, and I even included one of my trainees who fired me after 3 sessions. Fired the child psychiatrist and said, "You don't know anything about medication, so I'm not going to work with you." So yes, I certainly understand that. But okay, okay. Um,
Tom, I have a question. Would you be interested in a translation, like in Chinese?
Ooh, wow. That's an interesting thought. No, nobody's, of course I would be interested. Is that
Well,
something that,
yeah. So let me share a little bit, what I've been doing, which probably
Because you've led those
Nora and
courses with
Andy
John,
know.
right?
Was that?
Is this related to those courses you've led with
Yeah,
John
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sargent? That's
So,
awesome.
I've been involved in teaching family therapy in China for the past now year and a half, almost like 2 years. So the first year was like more didactics, and the second year now we are asking them to tape the session, and we watch the video and they get supervision that way. So it's like every other week, two of us, the Karam, the other, colleague of mine, and we're doing alternate. So we are heading there next, like in 2 weeks, for our annual meeting there.
Mhm.
So we'll go to Wuhan University, where University of Chicago has already a connection. But this is a Milieu University, which is technically based in Beijing, but is more like online, more therapy focused. And I can bring that idea to them and see if they are interested and then if they are interested, then I can connect them with you in some ways. I tell you,
Absolutely. I would be, I would find that to be a true adventure, having,
I tell you, Tom, that the way Nora and Andy are saying that people are not as excited, it's not the right word. Probably they're not as exposed to working with families. I think that's better than than other modalities, specifically coming from adult psychiatry. The interest in family work in China is beyond belief,
really,
beyond belief. And
wow.
like when I went last year, we had live cases, like live families, and we did like on the
In
stage.
English?
We
Is
did
this
like,
in English?
yeah, so with interpreter. With inter
Interpreted. Okay.
Yep, yep. So it was very interesting. The younger generation, they are trying to speak English. So sometimes they will try to talk in English and we'll say that stay with Mandarin because your mom doesn't understand that. It's funny. The interesting thing is that the need for working with young adults is a lot. So meaning 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old. Last week, the case was 25-year-old. She was an engineer and she was not leaving the house. Complex dynamics. She has witnessed domestic violence and stuff and social anxiety. She does not like, fascinating. So my point is that the interest in, and they always want resources, that anything else that you can, and we have shared a lot of stuff that we can, which is publicly available, but everything is not publicly available. So if they are interested, we can explore the possibility of. I think there will be a reasonable demand. It's not like crazy demand, but I think the so like last year when we went, there were about like 75 therapists attended.
Wow.
It was a,
Wow.
it was amazing. And what they had done is that they have had like 2 or 3 star students. Those are like psychologists, PhD psychologists who directly work with us, and all the others are more watching. So
Mhm.
but they all of them went through the training and then they got the certificates that they went through the training. So I think the need and demand would be there. I can explore again. I'm going, if it's okay with you.
Oh, I would love it if you would do that, Khalid. I think that would be, and if you need some books to take along, actually you can get them online just as easy as in China as you can here.
I
So
have my book with the one which I have right here. Or I can get like couple with me. I can get them from Amazon and I can
yeah,
take them with me. So and see, I think that would be an excellent tool. And they're so interested in psychodynamic. They're so interested in like all kinds of intervention that we do, like in family work, even individual work. So the interesting thing is that they have previously focused more on CBT. So when the last session I was reviewing a lot of stuff, they were doing individual based, and not kind of family. So that it's pretty fun. It's a lot of fun,
That
doing.
sounds like a great. Yeah, I wish I was young again. I'd be involved in all these interesting things you guys are
And
doing
I tell you, Tom,
instead of sitting on my island and counting sheep.
this year, even for Nora and Andy, would be interesting. This year, the theme is AI.
Hmm.
So what we are doing here is that I'm so sorry, I'm like always the CL people are like still calling me. So this year the theme is AI. So we are developing an AI model of family therapy. So so yesterday we did it with like our residents and we taped it. So if you have time, I'm happy to show it to you, but it's like beyond belief how good it is. Like we tell them we have to train AI that you are going to use speaker listener techniques, circular questions, reframing, and so on and so forth. And then
Really?
it starts to do it, during the session. It's hard to believe, right, Nora? If
No,
you want,
I mean,
I can
it's
show you the video.
incredible. Like, I mean, I have colleagues. I'm just really a Luddite. Like, I just am very slow to any tech advances, so I'm very behind on all things like AI and Chat GPT and all that. But I have colleagues who are using it really effectively to even just like strategize, outline lectures they give. Like, I have 2 upcoming lectures I need to give, and my friend typed in what was necessary, and then within 2 minutes sent me summaries of like recommendations for the 2 different lecture topics and from Chat GPT, and they were excellent. Like it seemed very scarily like really knowledgeable. So I'm blown away. I'm a little scared by how all these things will be used as well, but so cool. You're starting this.
Let me show you a little bit so that you have an idea. I think you are going to hear that.
Not okay anymore. Respond to what Nate just said. Does it land for you? Does it miss something?
So this is AI.
Maybe actually hurt each other, then it becomes an issue. Of course, I don't know how it affects my mom's, or why it would affect my mom's. You're just arguing and fighting.
That's such a powerful statement, Matthew.
That was
Slow
not
down. Maybe we actually hurt each other. That line right there. That's a shift moment. Because underneath all
it's
the conflict, all the frustration.
Wow.
It's so fascinating because it's the model, so it just tells what she's gathering. So then it's so funny to say the voice is empathic and lowered, and then she lowers the voice. So it's like fascinating. So they were interested. So we have created this model. So what we are going to, and then it summarized at the end, like if you want it to summarize, so it will summarize that, oh, so there were like 2 moms and 2 kids, they were fighting, and we utilized, these are the things that we did, and it said that it was a resident session, a mock session with resident for resident education. It's crazy. It's like literally crazy. It's scary. Like it really it's infancy level, and what's going to happen in the next 4 to 5 years? I think that it's scary.
Uh,
Because it just started. So we are just working on ChatGPT basically on the Pro, which is the paid version. So how we train it is that we send like say circular, say Minuchins, some PDFs. We just upload, and then say Jay Haley's and all the classical work we just upload, and then we tell them to extract. These are the stuff that we would like for you to focus, and it starts like that, very very professionally. But the only issue was yesterday when we were doing it was just yesterday we taped the session. that it was sometimes it would mix the voice. So because still it's AI, so it will say instead of say Nora, it will say Andy. So that it was mixing, but still amazingly accurate. I was very impressed.
Yeah.
And she got the idea that there were two moms and what kind of trouble there are. And it's like, oh my God.
Wow.
Incredible.
So we'll see how this will go. I'll report back. Maybe in September meeting will be.
Well,
Anyway,
I'll be interested to hear how that evolves. I mean, it's a like you say, it's a brave new world out there.
I know. And initially I was very skeptical, and I was not interested. And then I said, well, it doesn't matter if I am or not, others are. So I think if we don't take charge of it, we need to evolve with the situation, and we need to utilize what we have. So that's why I got interested in it. And I think the future would be that we will have virtual figures, and we can, at least for training, it's a great tool. In actual family therapy work, I think individual CBT kind of work, it's upcoming very fast. Probably people are already doing, but I think actual family work, it's a little bit far still, but it's not really far in the future. I think in the next 3 to 5 years we will have that.
Wow. But it's all out of business.
I don't know, Tom. That yesterday my wife was not the physical therapist. She said, "Oh, you are going to be out." I thought, I don't think that we are going to be out of business, because our role will shift maybe, but the
Mm.
need is so much that even if we want to give or provide family work to, we cannot. So I think if we think from that standpoint, that it will provide an opportunity for people to experience far-flung areas where nobody is there. And like I'm
Mhm.
also, as you notice, that I'm interested in work in China and Middle East and other areas. So this global mental health business, I think that is something which psychiatry, role of psychiatrist is more trainer than clinician. So I think that shift is going to occur even more in the upcoming future, where we will see ourselves more, and we cannot see, the need is so much that we cannot put a dent in the need. So we need to find ways to provide more and train more. So that's how I see it. But
Yeah.
When you
Point.
say that 75 therapists there, are some of those psychiatry providers or they're not?
like psychiatrists,
Yeah. Or
no, I think there was only one. Interestingly, I think one or two pediatricians were there who attended the whole course.
Hmm.
So that's the thing, that the need is so much. They said, okay, well, whatever we can learn, and but mainly they are like more master level, like LCSWs kind of. Most of them are those, and the star students, there are probably 5 or 10% psychologists, like PhD psychologists, but they have not had like family training, so they are like so interested, and they read. That's why I got the idea about translation, because whatever I give them, they'll read, and next time they'll tell them that, hey, what about this? What about this? So that's why I thought that if we, it all depends if they are willing to support it. I think the translation there will be cheaper than in the US. So yeah.
You know what I was also thinking that made me think, Khaled, maybe this is a project, Tom, to get back involved with. It would be cool to have like an accompaniment to the book that could be sort of like a book group guide. Maybe you've seen some books that are popular. They end up with like, if you're doing this for your book group, and or like a teaching guide, meaning if you have an opportunity like Khaled's describing of an audience that has some time to learn about family therapy, and you're using the book as a vehicle, it's getting people thinking about it, hearing the conversations. It left me sometimes like wanting more, thinking like, oh, I'd like to read the chapter or the article or whatever where this idea sort of grew from or is reflected, to hear a little bit more about like what exactly makes a circular question, or how do we understand this family dynamic? And I think that doesn't belong in the book because it would get didactic, but it'd be neat to have a guide with it that says, for these concepts or for this conversation on chapter 4, I was referencing some of Sal Minuchin's blah 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 blah, or here's an article like the Carl Tom articles you referenced specifically, but there weren't many other references appropriately. It'd be neat to have like a reference guide so that people could find out the next level.
Such an
I would just
incredible idea, Andy. Wow.
Yeah.
I think that would definitely excite fellows a little bit more when they like guide to read your book, you know, something which is I think that's another project, huh? Another couple of years, you know? But I tell you that will probably excite them even more. The book is very exciting for us, but we need to next generation. I think they need more guidance.
One other thing I was thinking about too is, you know, in you speaking, Colleen, about how a lot of the folks you're training are not MDs. You know, I do still think there's a as much as all of us are active believers in family work, I still think there are so many MDs, to your point earlier a little bit, Andy, that just don't want to go there. You know, they prefer to focus on the pharmacology or more manualized treatments. And so, you know, I wonder if spreading it out, not just to, you know, MD training programs, psychiatrists, but maybe psychologists, social workers, you know, it may be more palatable to, you know, folks who are more comfortable with family work to begin with. Like, I think we're sort of treading upstream, even find like it's hard for, I can't even, we have like 14 fellows who graduate each year, and I'm hard pressed to find like one or two in the last 10 years who continue on and become like family specialists. Like they get more comfortable with it, but it continues, at least in the New York area, it continues to be hard to find a family therapist who is an MD. I think that might be part of it too.
That's certainly most of the people. I don't know if any of you have read the reviews on Amazon. There's like, I don't know, 15 reviews now, and the people who are, some of those are just old friends of mine who read it because they're old friends of mine, but there are other people who wrote reviews because they're child psychiatrists, and they really but I would really like to get out of most people who are reading it are child psychiatrists, and that's because that's who I am and who I know. But I would really like to get into the master's level AAP, the who do most of the family therapy. I mean, they are the family therapist providers for the country, and any ideas any of you have about how to get in? You know, we talked about Betsy Wood, who's a psychologist and who has been spreading the word in psychology circles. Jay LeBeau wrote a review that ended up on the back of the book, and obviously he's a psychologist and teaches in Chicago. But any ideas about cracking that much larger group?
So I have one thought. So the issue with psychology, involving psychologists is that, well, the idea is great. The issue, what I see is, I think we at University of Chicago are one of the few programs in the country, frankly speaking, where psychology and psychiatry is fully integrated. Like even in CL service, half of the week we cover like as MDs, and I'm the MD backup when psychology or psychology trainees are covering. So it's not like it's only so, and we have a lot of trainees. I doubt that I've been here like now, this is my 17th, 18th year, that even one who had family training. So I think the problem with psychology is not as clear, because it all depends what we want, and we get those supervisors, and we just are trained in that. So just broad psychology will be more challenging, because most people have no idea about family work. Even if they are child psychologists, that typical family, like, they don't know what circle question is. I'm just saying for the sake of saying. So finding the right people, I think, Sam, that's what you are asking, would be the key to having them getting interested in this as a course book or something. So,
Mhm.
so those psychology programs which focus on family work, and I think that would be more couples and I don't know, family. Is there because we have like Adler School here in Chicago, but I don't know that there is like, I don't know what's their training, because they do talk about family work, but
Well,
I
there,
don't.
there are lots of training programs for marriage and family
Yeah.
therapy, master's level programs around the country. And they're turning out thousands of master's level people every year.
Right.
You know,
It'd be interesting to see what they think of it. I've had the experience with other aspects of sort of family-based care and integrating social determinants of health, where healthcare, let's say clinicians, therapists outside of psychiatry have said, like, yeah, of course, what you don't need to teach us about this. Like, we already know that these things matter as social workers, as marriage and family counselors, that what would be atypical for a psychiatrist to do, to talk about structural determinants of health or the family system, they feel like is their bread and butter, and we're almost rejecting of it, of like, who are you to come and teach us about families? We identify as people who think about families, and that may not be the people you were talking about, Khalid, who may not think about those, but in some groups, and I think social workers stand out. I've had some caution, maybe just to be of how I approach it, of like, I'm not bringing something novel that I came up with, but this is something that we're trying to do more in psychiatry. And in that sense, I found your book really well fitted to the world of psychiatry and how visits and supervision work.
I hate to take up all of your time, you guys. I was kind of hoping we would have 15 young people with cases that they wanted to discuss, but this has been very good for me. I don't know if I've added anything to your uh, uh, professional lives, but I uh, like the opportunity to be available. I've got lots of time. Um,
This is
so
great. Your book and meeting, it's very helpful. I had another question I wanted to ask you, but I
sure.
do sometimes the conduit to change are the teachers, not the trainees. Like if you get faculty kind of moving the culture, then the trainees sort of accept it because that's how it is. So I don't think this is a bad use of anybody's time. And my question was along those lines. There was something, as I read the book, the piece is as excited as I was about the family systems pieces. I think the part that felt most challenging was actually some of the logistics, where I'm reading it and seeing about the videotape supervision, the frequency of the meetings, and the availability of like, oh, why don't we see this family tomorrow? And I thought about how the practice is here and how much of pressures for RVUs and schedule availability and things like that. It feels like those things actually felt difficult, where I thought, oh, this would be great, but how am I going to get video consents and the presidents or fellows to agree to that and bring video into the office? And there's so much telehealth and Zoom, and we're not allowed to record Zoom because of HIPAA, but you have to get special permission. And I just was like, and the idea of the flexibility that the supervisor character had in the book to say, sure, let's take on this new family, or why don't we see them tomorrow or next week, actually felt harder to achieve maybe than some of the session content. Does that make any sense? I felt like there was a way in which it pushed on how like my schedule and the trainees' schedules are set up that I worried about whether I could replicate.
Can I share a brief response to my
Sure.
take? I felt that a little too, and I thought maybe that was just some poetic license a little bit to keep the narrative moving nicely.
I could respond to several of those things that, as you probably all know, I trained with Mnuchin and Haley back at Philadelphia Child Guidance Clinic. And it was kind of, I was forced to understand that it's has to be part of the culture. For example, at the Philadelphia Child Guidance Clinic, I was required to see one individual patient a year, just for the sake of my education. Everybody else was seen as a family, and if somebody called the clinic, and it was a big clinic, lots of psychologists, lots of social workers, they were told, "You're bringing your family, and we're going to videotape." And that by setting the stage institutionally, things really became much easier. And I've managed to do that most of my career. But I understand that we all don't have control of those factors. But the way that the supervision is in the book is pretty much the way I've supervised for 40 years. I mean, I've done videotapes. I've had. It's not true that you can drop everything and see a family. Occasionally you can do that. Sometimes you can do that. But usually what you're doing is you're scheduling people for next week, and then you have a chance to look at the videotape, and so it can be done, but it has to be built into your system. And that means if you don't have control of the system, Andy, if you don't have control of the scheduling, the schedulers at the Philadelphia Child Guidance Clinic were told, bring your family. Tell the family whose calls, bring your family. So it's a totally different thing if somebody shows up and actually I was thinking about this, that if you think back on the book, you probably don't have it memorized the way I do. But the first family that we see, oh, Fernando, oh, that's an interesting, we have to check. Maybe he's telling us we have to shut up now. The first the girl says, "Oh, I was going to have her bring in have the mother bring in their daughter for an evaluation. I guess I should call them back and say, bring in the whole family." That was the very first exchange. So I feel for you, Andy. It's true that institutionally there are lots of obstacles, and if you don't have the ability, if you're not in a position to change some of those obstacles, it can be very difficult.
Yeah, thanks. And just hearing that and starting to think about it allows me to think about what would be needed to change things. So it's helpful. Our resident clinic, which I'm very involved with. So for example, this morning we saw a mother who brought in her child, and we said, when we meet you next week, can you bring in the father of the child? Like, we're trying to invite more of the family. But the clinic is set up, it's one day that the third-year general residents do their child psychiatry clinic, and they have slots over the day, 4 different slots, and that's the only day they can really do it because they're doing different things. And because of the volume and follow-up, they really they don't have time in those to see a patient weekly or even every other week because they only have 3 follow-up slots. And so that's something I can think about in the clinic, like where or how could we build that in? Because as it is, if they see a patient monthly, that sort of fills the slots that they have. We would need to make space that they could see a case more frequently. I mean, they have other places where they see therapy cases more frequently, but in our child psychiatry experience, they don't get really exposure to therapy because they're just learning how to do evaluations and some follow-up. So thanks.
Yeah.
And I'm going to step out just for the time. Thank you all. And thanks, Tom, for sharing the book and everything.
Thank you guys for the conversation. I really appreciate it. And